All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm, super ecstatic to be here now, on stage and seeing how many faces out there are. It's pretty exciting stuff. I'm Justin Dean. I'm the SVP of Platform and Technical Operations at Ticketmaster. I've been there for a couple years now, and one of the things I'm super passionate about is building high-performance teams, high-performance organizations, right? And as you'll see, the scale, complexity of a company like Ticketmaster, I feel like I've found my home there. Another thing about me is I'm slightly nerdy when it comes to automating things that you probably shouldn't be automating, like beer and barbecue. So if you're into stuff like that, hit me up. As I said, we're pretty grateful to be here and excited to share what we're doing at Ticketmaster. And ultimately, what we hope to get across today is how are other large enterprises thinking about Kubernetes, thinking about containers, and really sharing a little bit about our journey and our path, and how we got there, why we got there. So hopefully that's relevant for you and your companies. A little bit about us. So Ticketmaster is a 40-year-old company, founded in 1976. About 3 months after it was founded, I was born, so that gives me some context of how old the company is. 20 years ago, we brought ticketing online, and in 2010, we partnered with Live Nation to become the world's leading live entertainment company. And we're a top 5 e-commerce company, and we do $25 billion in commerce on top of the platforms that we build. So this is one of my favorite slides, and really it encapsulates sort of what we do as a company, right? Just the simple statement of, somewhere in the world, every 20 minutes is a Live Nation event, right? So it's pretty cool to think about the gravity of what we put on. And as a company, sort of at our core, what we do is we power unforgettable moments of joy. So as I like to say, we are in the business of selling fun. And we do that for 530 million fans across 37 countries, everything from concerts, sports, football, basketball, arts, theaters, clubs, right? So it's pretty large scale of things that we do, and it's pretty humbling for me to think about, the systems, the platforms, the tools that we build power all of that. This simple speeds and feeds slide, I'm not going to go into any details, but the reason I like to show it is most people think of Ticketmaster and you think the website, right? And everyone's probably tried to buy concert tickets and you either loved us or hated us that day, whether you got them or not. But as a Fortune 400 enterprise and a huge business, right, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that are more akin to a traditional enterprise than just a website. We have obviously a huge complicated business. We also have a lot of matching technical complications, and it really does keep it from getting boring. Just like any other company who's been around for a while and has been successful in the market, you inevitably end up with a lot of legacy technology to deal with, right? And so we found that some of it is not actually ready for containers and Kubernetes, if you can believe it. So we refer to it as our tech museum. So we've 40 years, so we've literally have about 40 years worth of software from every era that runs our business. For instance, the core nucleus of our ticketing system is VAX, and we've emulated it, but it's still VAX at its core, right? So just like most of you probably in whatever industries you are, have a VAX along with you. So we got that going for us. And then, the stuff that, the lion's share of our stuff runs in what used to be, leading edge and cool technology 5 or 6 years ago, big giant private clouds, runs in, big Zen infrastructure, backend, storages, NetApp, NFS, that whole stuff. So quickly, everything that used to be modern is now legacy. So on top of all of that, on top of our tech museum, we run, essentially 21 businesses. So complicated, ecosystem of all these different acquisitions and ticketing engines from all, different sizes, scales, clubs, venues, primary ticketing, concerts. With 1,400 people touching this stuff, that means 1,400 people that have to deal with the technologies that we put out there, right? And large private cloud, tens of thousands of nodes, and huge complicated networking. If you think about every venue, every arena, every club, you walk in with a ticket, boop, scanner, right? Like somewhere that has to make it through the Ticketmaster ecosystem to validate that stuff. So on top of all that, we have this unique phenomenon that we deal with called on sales. And essentially what we do is we create a giant DDoS as a business. So as we sell these big name artists, they put on tickets, limited inventory. Face value of the ticket is way lower than market value of the ticket. And then we tell the entire world, hey, we're going to sell it at this time, right? So, secondary market, bot armies, everybody programs their bot, militia with the atomic clock to come and get these tickets so they can make money, right? So anything that we build, right, like our ecosystem, has to be able to deal with, having that crushing it as a business. Didn't go. There we go. So, even though we're a market leader in the space, we have competition. So just like most of your businesses, right, the competition is continuing to get more fierce, right? And so it becomes really challenging as a large company, right? We're dealing with, it doesn't take much to start up a company and start competing, right? And then if you're a large company, you have this huge surface area, right? And just a little chunk of that surface area for a smaller startup or whatever, right, could be a valid business, right? So you have to figure out how to compete and be just as nimble as a competition. So quick recap. Public company, market pressure, highly competitive landscape, legacy tech, some not ready for containers, huge technical debt, and we pay the price of that in our operations, huge scale complexity, and we deal with Black Friday every day. Sorry, my clicker stopped on me. There we go. So, when we think about it, like at its root, right? For us, we make money selling software. And in order to make more money, we have to sell more software and we have to change that software. So for us, that means getting faster at what we do. All right, so the way we think about this as a company. So in order to get more revenue, more market share, we need better products, better features. In order to do that, we need to deliver them faster. In order to do that, we need to create autonomous product teams that don't wait on people, right? So these are self-sufficient little micro businesses that don't put tickets into ops to deploy things. In order to do that, we need to simplify the complexities of yesterday's infrastructure. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we solved it. Quick timeline. We've been on this journey for a couple years. We are now in the public cloud / Kubernetes phase. So a couple years ago, we had the executive foresight to essentially disrupt ourselves and reboot the company. Never an easy decision, but we thought, we're going to be Yellow Cab or we're going to be Uber. We chose Uber, right? So sorry to anybody from Yellow Cab. That brought us to what we call the lean transformation phase. This is where we stopped waterfalling, started getting really clear on what we need to deliver as a business, and we created tons and tons of cross-functional teams, right? And the idea was, get everybody you need together that can deliver the whole product, right? And what we found was that we got really, really, really good at writing software, and we did not get much better at delivering software, right? So there's a huge gap, turns out, between I wrote the code and the code is making money in production, right? And usually that equals somebody who knows how to go metal to money and deploy the stuff. So that took us to our DevOps phase, right? I'm sure most of you in big companies have been through this. It's hard. I like to say that we DevOpsed hard. The big thing for us was breaking 40 years worth of muscle memory, right? And then doing the complicated things that you have to do along the way and making org changes, changing the culture, building the self-service tools, moving people closer to the problem space instead of in their central silo, right? So tickets became evil, meaning like Jira tickets and all that. Every ticket is an error condition. And the goal of this whole process for us was creating self-sufficient businesses, right? Every product team should be a small micro business and be able to keep pace with the competition, right? So things were doing things were going well, right? We're getting better at, our business. We're getting better at delivering software. But we knew, like, hey, something's not right still, right? So we dug in a little deeper, and then we realized we're still spending 30 to 50% of our time cranking the machine, moving code around, right? Non-value add activities, right? We had 150 plus pipelines. We had, half of our outage were due to basically self-inflicted outages. They're all preventable, right? So we made ourselves a business case, and there we go. So we essentially made ourselves a business case to solve that, and for us, that was we're going full bore into the public cloud, right? And then we think about the public cloud for us in a little different way. We're not so much interested in where we're buying utilities from. We're really interested in up-leveling our technical capabilities, our technical maturity, and our product maturity as a company. So we look at our public cloud journey as it's a huge carbon filter for us to force all of our product teams and all of our application teams to up-level their products and their capabilities. So there's no way that you can survive successfully inside of a public cloud ecosystem, especially on, in a containered world and all that, unless you address all of the ilities, right? Deployability, reliability, monitorability. So it forces everybody to do deep introspection of all of our apps and essentially go through this, we're calling it the carbon filter, getting onto the other side, and we remove all of the technical debt and the particulate matter along the way. So, since we were trying to build autonomous teams, and that was really the goal of all of this, right? We built a team to help us along the way. We called them a cloud enablement team and not a migration team. So their job was essentially define the future state architecture, right? Define the path for our products to get to the public cloud, right? And really, really, really focus on curing us of all of our on-prem addictions, we'll call them, right? Like, using NFS for everything, shared state, having giant, slash software trees that just have all software imaginable available, right? All crutches on an on-prem world that do not work in a cloud-native world, right? So their job was to build these patterns and build the toolkit, build the software, build the documentation to enable all of our product teams to take themselves to the cloud, right? And to take themselves to a cloud-native state so that they holistically own and operate their products. So we came up with these simple steps. I use the word simple in quotes, right? Containerize your stuff, use CoreOS. We love Terraform your infrastructure, and instrument everything. And really, if I can stress one point on this slide, right, is the biggest, most painful, and most valuable bullet is no SSH or RDP. Right? That is a game changer for everybody. Like, you have to make your stuff immutable. It has to live in a container. All of the telemetry that you need needs to be baked into there, right? And there has to be the system health has to be on autopilot, because the only way you can fix it is to redeploy. So make sure if you're doing public cloud that you take that along with you. So we thought, we got a great plan. We've got a great team. We have a new stack architecture defined. We've got a comprehensive set of software and DIY kits. We're ready to go, right? Like, let's open the floodgates, and next week, let's just be in the cloud as an enterprise, right? We'll celebrate it and everything. So we did, and then we realized this isn't really working, right? Like, so what did we learn? So we took a public cloud that has a rich set of APIs, a rich set of primitives, right? And then we introduced it to hundreds of developers across the company of all different walks of life, skills. Their tech stacks are completely different. And then we asked them, hey, learn the APIs, learn the primitives, learn how to build infrastructure, learn how your software and your product uses infrastructure, learn how to write that infrastructure building into Terraform. So now learn how to build infrastructure with software. And on top of that, do all the cloud native stuff and containerize your stuff and remove dependencies. Should be easy. And along the way, we realized, if AWS specifically, right, has 65,000 ways where you can combine their services to deploy your product onto. So if you think about a workload, and the workload probably has exactly one optimal price-performance value ratio, that's 64,999 ways to screw it up, right? And if you're in the executive table where you think about, what's this costing us, and we pay the bills, right? I started viewing Terraform as this is our programmatic checkout page. Like, we've literally pushed a checkout page to an entire workforce where they're just writing software, and every time they click submit or deploy, they're buying stuff from Amazon, right? Like, basically, that's what's happening. So if you care about money at all, this is a bad idea, right? Like, this is a problem. So, quick summary, right? We had a huge learning curve, super hard to manage distributed systems at scale. We're asking the wrong people to do it, right? And we're asking a lot of the wrong people to do it across 100 teams. And we're baking purchasing decisions into distributed Terraform core code. And we're just having it stuffed in repos across the company. So ultimately what we learned is we're spending too much time writing software to deploy software instead of writing software to make money. So we quickly, realized, okay, what are we going to do, right? We have to abstract the complexities, right? And then we've been talking about container orchestration for a while, so it didn't take us long to realize, okay, let's layer on a container solution on top of that, right? We surveyed the field. It didn't take long for us to quickly realize that Kubernetes is right for us. There's 101 reasons why. A couple of which are, we had Kubernetes already deployed out through some of our different stacks. A lot of teams were using it to solve their own problems. So it really helped that people liked it already. Diving into the community, which is just fantastic and amazing, right? I mean, just look how many people are here right now thinking about it, right? And the amount of commits. Like, it's clear, right, that it's leading the charge when it comes to orchestration, right? And then, the biggest one for us was we successfully solved like a painful problem with it, right? So we have this. We use OPENTSDB as our eyes and ears for our time series telemetry, and we use it for our business dashboards and for our systems dashboards, specifically during peak load times. And one of the problems we have is while we're getting crushed, right? Let's say we're selling Bruno Mars tickets and sell a million tickets in a couple minutes. That means our monitoring systems are also getting crushed, right? So we have an entire business and artists and everybody looking at their dashboards, and then our OPENTSDB cluster explodes, right? So after a few times of that happening, right, everyone's pretty upset. I'm getting nasty emails. Like, we got to fix it, right? And it's not an easy problem to solve. Especially when you're throwing 500,000 metrics a second at the thing. So the team organically solved this problem by putting it into Kubernetes and using the pod health check features and the auto heal. So for me, like, I personally knew this. I personally experienced like how awesome Kubernetes was when my weekly email count about the nasty emails of what the hell's going on with OPENTSDB went from like 5 or 10 to literally 0. And we don't talk about OPENTSDB. I kind of forgot we had it until this slide. So it's a huge testament in my mind. So like I said, we're using Kubernetes as our simplification layer. We used to have this complicated mess on the left. And now we've got a cluster ops team who, we have a small amount of people instead of our entire workforce that really, really, really understand the nuts and bolts of actually running Kubernetes on top of a public cloud and optimizing it. And then we just expose one set of simple APIs, and probably will extend that into some other even more simpler abstraction layer. And then we can treat all of our developers as just this homogeneous pool of folks. Don't ever tell them I told you that. But basically, it's sort of like, tell us where your stuff is, tell us where the container is, how many resources you need, how many replicas, done, right? They don't need to worry about purchasing decision from, public cloud vendors. So we got to a point where we realized we need to go large scale with this. We need to make it work for an enterprise and not just these bespoke setups, right? So we got serious about it. We built a team of 6, and then we knew it was real and we were getting serious when we had a logo, right? So that was pretty cool. So we got this team together, and it's like, all right, guys, let's build it. Like, let's go big. How would we do this for real in a public cloud at scale? And we just had a million questions. They just kept coming, right? I mean, everyone knows, right? There's not a lot of, reference architectures and answers out there. So we just we found ourselves in this zone. So, back to the most important thing about Kubernetes, right, is the community. So we spent a fair amount of time with engaging the community, right? We got with the people who know, right? And give us your opinionated version of how you would do this for real in the enterprise where we're dealing with modern stuff and legacy stuff, right? Spend time with the CoreOS team, spend time with Kelsey, spend time with the Apprenda team. It helped us get our sort of game plan and our roadmap together, combined with just making sure that the teams are in the SIGs, are at all the conferences, and recently joined the CNCF. So we were good. We had our roadmap. We created this. Here's where we're going. We're going to build it all out. It's going to be great. And we started working on it, right? The DIY version of put all this together, and we kept hitting more questions, right? Every time you dig in just a little bit on something, you find like 40 more options and different opinions, right? And some of the things that were really slowing us down were the nagging feeling of how do you do this in production when it comes to support, right? Could you imagine selling Adele tickets or something like that, and you have the artist on the line, you have 1 minute to do this right, and etcd blows up on us, right? Do we have a deep enough bench to deal with that in seconds, not hours or whatever, right? And so it slowed us down from really, really committing hard and going full bore, right? So we knew we needed to accelerate, and so what we did was so quite possibly the dumbest slide you've ever seen, but I think we dug in with the CoreOS team and thought, let's partner with the experts, and let's there was a mutual sort of thing going on there because we can pretty much break any system, so it'll give that team a lot of learnings as well. So we basically deleted our roadmap, said we're not going to build it anymore. We're just going to use Tectonic, which freed up our team to work on more important things. So not a Tectonic commercial by any means, but why did we do that? So number one, it was vanilla upstream Kubernetes. That was important to us. We don't want to be on some bespoke version of something down the road or tied to one area. So no one knows what the future holds. So no lock-in. That was cool. The CoreOS team has been building enterprise features into Tectonic since the beginning. So leveraging what they've built for simple things like how do you do auth, right? Like you have got more than one person working here. So those things just come for free with it, which was a super help because we didn't have to figure it out. But for me, the biggest thing was immediate enterprise level confidence, right? On our own, we were a little timid on, can we do this at this scale, right? Partnering with the CoreOS team, it was like, absolutely. Like we have the horsepower, we have the knowledge, and now we've got an actual enterprise support model, right? That gives us the ability to, go full bore prod without turning back and worrying about it. Just a quick note on the automatic updates, and we think that that's pretty cool as well. So it's a bonus to think that we're partnering with somebody who is forward thinking in the industry. So and also as part of that, right, what we're hoping to do also is to continue to influence the enterprise level roadmaps, right? We're in a unique position where we've got this, massive, complicated, traditional enterprise business combined with a huge web scale business with massive impulse functions that just crush equipment. So we feel like we have a lot to offer the future roadmaps, which should help everybody and help add value-added features into the enterprise space for the rest of the community. So I'll share one more story around a Kubernetes success story for us. So we've been working on building our new web platform for a while, and as you can imagine, the Ticketmaster web platform is pretty sizable. There's 150 to 200 people working on this for quite a while, and it started modern. It was inside of containers, inside of AWS, all immutable from the get-go. But the deployment mechanisms were a little clunky. Some CloudFormation in there, some Python scripts in there, some special sauce, and it was 20 plus minutes per deploy, and it was it might break, right? I mean, it had problems. So what this means for a team of 100 plus, and you can imagine, no one wants to deal with waiting half hour for deploy. You do 10 deploys a day times 100 people. We're wasting a lot of time. So moved it on to Kubernetes, and we immediately got it down to 60-second updates. Almost more important is it works every time, no questions asked, right? So the confidence level that gives the entire team working on this, right, gave them the confidence to essentially foster a daily delivery culture, if you will. So if you think about ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people's mind share to focus on delivering products to market and not monkeying around with like infrastructure stuff. So they don't even think about it now. Deployments are not even a thing. And we do this daily delivery culture thing where stand up in the morning, everybody says, hey, this is what I'm going to build today. I'm going to try this out. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see. And then at the end of the day, there's another stand up where you show the output graph. Like, this happened, I did this, and here's an A/B, and like, not I'm going to do this and I'm going to deploy it next week. You show the output graph. So it's been a huge game changer for this team and really our culture. So ultimately, at Ticketmaster, the way we're looking at Kubernetes is, it's the vehicle that lets our makers make, right? We have an amazing community of makers, creators, innovators, visionaries, and really what we want them to do is we want them to focus on innovating and delivering value, right? Delivering cool stuff to the market, not wasting time building infrastructure. So to recap, right, use Kubernetes, extract the infrastructure complexities away from your company, have a cluster ops team, right, that does the optimizations, does all the voodoos, right? Keep that to a small group of experts. Stop wasting your effort writing software to deploy software, right? Write software to make money, and let your makers make, right? Give them the time, the mind share, right? Give it back to your most valuable asset, right? Your people, to do what they do best, make things. So there's a fair amount of us here. As we said, we're sponsoring a band tonight, so it's pretty cool. Hopefully we create some unforgettable moments of joy. So definitely say hello to us, and that's it. Thank you. Thank you.